I have this amazing idea for a book. I know the story, I know the world, I know more or less my characters. How do I start? Well, welcome to my channel. This is Writing Fiction with Alice Franco. I am Alice Franco, proud member of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association and award-winning author. I'm gonna help you today get this amazing idea out of your brain and putting it on the paper. Today I'm gonna cover a broadly used structure for storytelling, the hero's journey. The Hero's Journey was first published by Joseph Campbell, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. It was published first in 1949. It's called The Monomyth. I highly recommend anyone that wants to write or act to read Joseph Campbell's work. It's though very philosophical, it's heavily historical. It's based on Carl Jung's works and the studies of myths and folklore throughout the world. So it's not an easy read, but as the starting point of Vogler's work that is broadly used nowadays, I highly recommend starting by Joseph Campbell. Then came Christopher Vogler, and he published this one, which is The Writer's Journey. Vogler was a screenwriter in Hollywood, so he adapted Campbell's work. Vogler expands the view of the hero's journey. He divides into acts, and he defines climax. Everybody that's in the film industry, production, and so, they have to go through this book. From all variations you're gonna find from the hero's journey, the basic one is divided in 12 parts. The ordinary world, call for adventure, refusal of the call, meeting the mentor, crossing the threshold. It's a mini climax from Act 1 to Act 2. And then you have Act 2. You have test, analyze, approach to the inmost cave, the ordeal, the climax. And then you have reward, seizing the sword, and you have the road back. And then you have resurrection, which is a second climax, but already in Act 3, and return with the prize or whatever. We're gonna dive into all of them one by one, I promise. And I'll give you examples and you will understand the basic structure. As I said, the first 5 stages are part of Act 1. Although 5 by 12 is over 40%, this stage of Act 1 shouldn't be more than 25% of your book. Stage 1, the ordinary world, is the basic life, the boring life before adventure that your character has. So this stage is for you to ground the reader in the world of the character before he goes into your adventure. If you watched Luca, that's a very cute Disney movie. He starts in the sea with his family. His mother is very overprotective and he dreams of seeing the world outside the sea, and that part is the ordinary world to ground the reader. Then we have stage 2, the call to adventure. That's gonna be the invitation, what's gonna tempt your character to jump into this whole new world and embark on this whole book of yours. Still with Luca's example, that's when Luca meets Alberto, the sidekick that runs through the adventure with him. Eventually Alberto gets him to this whole new world that he dreams about, which is on the surface. Then there's the refusal of the call. The refusal of the call is the not succumbing part of the character to this new adventure. So in Luca, for instance, his mother calls, right? His mother is very protective, and the refusal of the call is because he's afraid of his mother. He's afraid that if he leaves to the surface, he's gonna die. All the stories that his mother tells. And this is grounded during the ordinary world description. So we know about his mother's behavior and overprotection before the call to adventure. So that's important, the foreshadowing during the description of the ordinary world to make sense into the refusal of the call. It's always good that you put some foreshadowing there, and then you intensify that moment where Luca rejects going with Alberto because of his mother, and we already know that that's going to be a problem because we learned about his mother's behavior during the description of the ordinary world. Stage 4 is meeting the mentor. It's very important to understand that roles are temporary and they can be addressed to one character or to a different set of characters. In the Conjurer's Prophecy trilogy, I don't keep the same mentor. I also don't keep the same antagonist. A good example of mentor, and again, I'm gonna use the Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He gives Luke the lightsaber, and that empowers him to go into this new adventure. Now he has the lightsaber, he's a Jedi, and he embraced that call and he jumps into this whole new world. So he passes from Act 1 to Act 2. Then we have tests, allies, and that's when you're gonna describe your adventure longer. From tests, allies until the road back should be 50 to 60% of your book. So all this Act 2 Part 1 and Act 2 Part 2, which is divided by the climax, which is the ordeal, should be at least half of your book. Take your time to describe the adventures that your character goes through, the characters that he meets or she meets, and that's gonna help in this adventure. And then we have this very tension moment, which is approaching to this very important climax of Act 2, which is called the approach to the inmost cave. The approach to the inmost cave must be high tension. You can elaborate by focusing on what your character, your hero, your main character fears the most. And then we have the ordeal. That's the big hit transformation climax and represented by death. Do you have to kill your character? No. A lot of people get the character close to being dead or really being dead or being reborn. Yes. That moment of death is to represent that big, oh my gosh, everything is lost, right? If you're writing a romance, that's when the partners get apart. Nobody died, but the romance died. If you're writing a romance, which is not my strength, but if you're writing a romance and the characters get apart, you cannot kill one character, right? If you kill one character, that's terrible. So there is no coming back. So there has to have a hope, and that's very important. Whatever you think of that climax, it cannot completely break. It has to 99% break, but there has to be a hope somehow of reattaching, because if not, there's no continuation of the story. So the climax of Act 2, which is the ordeal in the hero's journey, has to be the representation of death, almost, of breaking point, of almost losing all the hope. It has to be savage, it has to be intense. And inside your hero, inside your main character, it has to be the climax of his transformation. Remember when we talked about character arcs? That's the point of transformation for your hero. So this moment has to make sense for your characters as well. And then we have Part 9, the seizing the sword moment of the hero's journey, which is the end of Act 2. The hero survived. So now he retrieves the sword, he retrieves the prize, he gets what he wanted after surviving that chaotic, intense climax of almost death. That's the moment that Harry Potter retrieves the Sorcerer's Stone, for instance. Now we have Part 10, which is the road back. The road back separates Act 2 from Act 3. Through your hero's perspective, he finally got what he really needed. So he's returning with that, and he thinks that he won. But between you and I, we know that we're gonna crush that little heart a little, right? So new challenges arise. So you have to describe the challenges that your hero is gonna go through. So he's escaping a falling building, and then when he thinks that the antagonist is dying in the middle of the building, the antagonist shows up again. So, and then when he escapes that antagonist, another challenge arises. So these are the moments of problems to return. That's the moment that you think that your character is gonna die again, right? So that's the death again, and that's the biggest challenge that he's ever gonna face, returning with that sword to his normal life, to his world. And then you have the return, right, which is the implementation, the description of how life is after everything is good. And you have two options. You can either get your hero to go back to his normal life or embrace the new reality. For instance, your hero used to live on Earth, and then his adventure was to go to Mars and, you know, save a ancient civilization that was, you know, hidden within the rocks or whatsoever. And after he went through all those challenges, he finally succeeded, and, you know, the bad guy died, or the bad guy went to Pluto, and he can either, and the people are safe now on Mars, and he can either go back to Earth, or he can choose to become a king on Mars, or, you know, rule that world, or keep saving those people from future problems. So if you have this idea, well, I want to write a book, and my